Watercolour, predominantly you want the white of the paper to come through your washes. That's paramount importance. You don't want dead washes, you don't want to block off the surface of the paper. So you want the paper to be luminous. It's transparent, the medium is transparent, you want the pigment to shine through. The eye level line is paramount, and by the eye level line I mean it's the line where you, the viewer, looking at the scene, look straight ahead. I'll put it about there. The direction of light is going to come from the left, coming across the picture, and I'm going to try and indicate some long shadows. I think it looks from what my sketch, which was of the flower market in Venice, I'm going to have some buildings on this side, some on this side, suggestions of flowers and people milling around. Ideally, you want them to walk down the stairs each morning and see something different. That's my main motive. The most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, with painting is to suggest and to capture atmosphere and mood. I'm going to start at the top of the sheet and work down. And just suggestions of shape, colour, form at this stage. I just want to get some sky back on there. Just a touch of raw sienna, a touch of yellow. At this stage I just want to get some pigment onto the surfaces. And because I'm using this texture obviously to the paper, which creates its own point of interest. Now I'm going to put some blue on that probably later, but I don't want to put it on at the moment because obviously the blue and the raw sienna will turn it green, so I want to leave that for a little bit longer. Splash some, at this stage I want to get some tones in quite quickly. Obviously there's a lot to do in the time. Just want to start to establish some values. This stage I just want to start getting a suggestion of some buildings in the background. So really I just want to get some pigments coming down and then just start to get something, start to establish a little bit of form. So I'm using a touch of burnt sienna when I can find it. The more I think you let colours mix on the surface of the paper, the better. If you try, I like to try and avoid palette mixing wherever I can. I try and paper mix as much as possible, and then I just dab off. I want this to be the suggestion of buildings way off in the distance. I don't want them to come forward. It's just suggesting the light coming from that side. Now at the time I've just put this, scrubbed this blue on, it's nice because it's just blending with the previous wash. Just enough to give a little bit of shadow on that side. Just makes the sky a bit more interesting. Now this piece of paper is now starting to dry, so I can just start to restate the colours, and especially on this side, which is the shadow side. And if, with a knife, when you just indicate, indent, slight indentations that can be just an area that's catching sunlight, if you take the line up like that, then it can suggest just a fine line, a bit of structure to it. Just indentations down into the paper can be doors, windows, depending obviously on where they're positioned, but they're just suggestive. See, the sky's worked quite nicely now. There's not too much going on, but later on I'll probably bring some cabling across, as if there's some sort of structure at the bottom half of this building. I want to be in shadow. I tend to make my shadows out of French Ultra or cobalt blue and alizarin crimson. So here I've got it light against that value, and here I've tried to darken it down. Just to so what I'm trying to do is suggest that the buildings are a little bit distressed. Areas of white, areas of light. They're legs but nothing else at the moment. It might be female, it might. Well, I'm trying to suggest it's female. Just what I want to do is I want this area here, the figure to cut, or these figures to, some of them to come out of this foreground shadow, so that, as I said, this wraps down here, around there, across there, and goes up there, so that it links. What you don't want is that half and that half to be separate.
Struggling with words.
Too strong for where it is. So just work quickly, just lift it off, take it back. Tempted to make that an arch. See if it's not too late. Arches are so much softer than straight edges. Indications of windows, because you don't want them to be any more than that, because they're in the shadowed area for this purpose. Just by dragging a knife through on end on the wet pigment, it just moves it to suggest distressed surfaces for that, the softness of that as a shape that just seems to work better against that. And it's quite nice the way that you've got that round that echoes what's going on over there. You get more out of it if I did another, maybe a landscape, a quick half an hour. Is that okay? Yeah. Right.